So I wanted to take some time to talk about the best Sega Saturn game that was ever released. Guardian Heroes was released for the Sega Saturn in 1996. It was developed by Treasure and published by Sega. It's this absolutely wild 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up video game that has like multiple layers of each level that you can go. So you've got like 3 tracks that you can fight on. There's loads of characters that you can play as. They all have like their individual sort of combos and they all feel pretty unique, and it has these really cool RPG elements. Now, full disclosure, when I went to go and capture footage for this game, I found out that my Sega Saturn doesn't work at the moment. It's completely broken, so I had to resort to booting up the Xbox 360 and playing the HD remake of this game just to capture some footage, which I've actually done full playthroughs on. I think they were some of the first videos I ever put out on my YouTube of this game, but they have no audio because at the time I didn't have a microphone, I just had a capture card. But yeah, when I was younger, I played this game an unbelievable amount. I've unlocked every single character, which is something I'll go into a bit later. I've done every single pathway you can do through the game, because at the end of each level or each stage that you get a multiple choice to decide where you want to go, and you can completely change the story, whether it's for good and evil. And it's honestly, the story is amazing. It's really good, and it is high fantasy story. But it's crazy. Like, it goes from fighting in these like rural towns that you can see here to having a big face-off against a giant mecha robot. I'm skipping the dialogue because I don't want people to like get involved in the story. Well, like, I feel like people should witness the story themselves before. So there's not going to be many spoilers in this sort of retrospective me chatting about a game for a bit, because I honestly want everyone to experience this game at least once. It is so fun. The combat in this game is unbelievable, especially for a Sega Saturn game that came out in the 90s. It is just great. You can juggle so many enemies. Every character feels so unique. You've got all these crazy enemies as well that keep turning up. Like, you go from fighting giant ogres, zombies, undead warriors, massive mecha robots. Some of the enemies almost take up the entire screen. That's how big they are, and it is great. You also get a weird psychic undead warrior, which you're about to see now, who just turns up and is an absolute beast. He has a nuclear option, which is one of my favourite things in any game, and all round he's just like an absolute tank. He destroys loads of things, but you've got to be really careful when you use him, just because there's like secret mechanics in this game that you need to learn about. You got the basic RPG mechanics that you can see now, where you can like level up your strength, vitality, more health, whatever you need, magic and stuff like that. But there's also other like secret mechanics called like the karma mechanic, which is basically the more things that you break in the game, or the more things that you like destroy, gives you negative karma. And as you're about to see here, the reason why you got to be really careful with it is because he will just nuke everything. It literally takes up the whole screen. If you use him in a like busy village, busy town where there's lots of like innocents and stuff, you're gonna get some bad karma. Now, one of my favorite villains in this game is this weird vampire. He is a very camp vampire, and I love him to pieces. One of my favourite villains in any game. He always reminded me of the clown from Final Fantasy VI, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. But one of the things that also just needs to be talked about in this game is the music is incredible. So the Sega Saturn, and especially the disc version of this game, had an ability that you could just put the CD disc into a like CD player and just listen to the audio track, and it is outstanding. It's one of the best audio tracks for any games ever. Like, some of the music just sounds so high value, and again, like, this is a Sega Saturn game from 1996. Like, wild how the production value on this. And for some reason it just didn't sell well in PAL regions. I think it did quite well in America, and I hear that it is really, really good in sort of Japan, like most Sega Saturn games. And it's weird because the reviews that came out for this game were really good. What you're seeing here is what I mentioned earlier, is where you get to select like multiple choice at the end of each levels to decide like the outcome of the game, and you have multiple storylines. I think in total there's 12 storylines. There's both a good and a bad version of each storyline as well, so there's so much replay value in this game. It's wild. And also the endings change depending on what character you're playing through. I think if you start the game you get about 5 characters. You get like a mage, you get the main character Han, who's the guy that I'm playing as at the moment. You eventually unlock that red knight woman that you saw, whose name is Selena, I think. There's also a like manic pixie dream girl who's like a luck character, which is a very hard playthrough if you're playing it all based on luck. And there is a lightning ninja as well, which is a great character to play as. Now the game did actually get a sequel, which is only available on GBA. It's just called Advanced Heroes, and I've got it. I'm going to do a playthrough it very soon, but I've never actually completed that game. But it really pushed the capability of the Game Boy Advance at the time. Like, the graphics are more or less spot on to what the Sega Saturn had for this game, and it is incredibly impressive. And that's got an even crazier storyline. Honestly, the storyline to this game is like someone's acid trip of a D&D campaign. It is wild what happens in it. Like, you end up like fighting gods or like dragon gods, and there's just so much like strange things that happen. But yeah, it's fantastic. I really recommend this for literally anyone that wants a good Sega Saturn game. Like I did say though, it is very expensive if you want to get an original copy, but you can probably, if you're into emulation, I'm sure you can find a ROM for this game. But the much better option, which is what I'm playing at the moment, is the HD remake on the Xbox 360. It came out in like 2012, I want to say, maybe a bit before that, and it's unfortunately it's digital only, but it is great. It's probably the most loving remake ever. They've like crisped up all the graphics, changed a few dialogue options and given a few more options here and there, and they've also greatly improved like the multiplayer, because you can play online, which is quite fun, but you can do another thing which I'm going to go into in a bit, which is one of the things I spent so much time on as a kid. Like, for me, when I think of the Sega Saturn, there's 2 games that come to mind: Guardian Heroes and weirdly Nights into Dream, because I never understood that game, and that's why it's what I think of with a Sega Saturn game. And also the Night's Christmas into Christmas Dreams, that was a really good one I had. But for me, honestly, this is the peak of Sega Saturn, and I wish more people played it. I wish more people had a chance to play it, because it's great. Now this is one of the bosses I was saying that like take up the full screen. I think it's a plant. I don't know what it is. It's got legs, and it's just a giant monster, and I love him. If I could get a cuddly toy of this creature, I absolutely would. And for some reason it turns into a ferret, but I'm not going to tell you why, because, you know, storyline. Now, one of the greatest things that happens in this game, for every enemy that you unlock into the arena mode, which is this absolutely crazy battle mode, which you're just seeing here. It's like Smash Bros, but it's on steroids. It's crazy. Now, the best thing, absolutely, I'm going to just tell anyone that plays this game now, the best thing you can do is you go onto arcade mode, you set everything to random: levels, characters, computer teams, and just start a match, and it is carnage, absolutely carnage. In this fight alone, we have a like lightning ninja throwing lightning everywhere, some sort of dragon god, a wolf, just a plain wolf, which is just like, he's doing his best, but he's also got the highest level. You've also got one of the main villains in the game, or anti-heroes in the game, and a super vampire, you know, because that's the type of stuff that's in this game. The enemies you fight are pretty crazy, and it's fantastic. The amount of things that you can have on screen at any time for a Sega Saturn game, and even for like the Xbox remake, is just incredible. Like, there's just so much of it, and it's so fun. I would go down on record saying that if you collect Sega Saturn games, this is an absolute must-have game in your collection. I know it's expensive, but I would not consider a Sega Saturn collection complete if you don't have Guardian Heroes. You may think differently. You may think that's incorrect. You may think there's better Sega Saturn games. You're absolutely entitled to agree or disagree with me. But yeah, that's what I think. Anyway, that's been me rambling on about one of my favourite ever games. I just wanted to talk about this game because I feel like no one ever talks about it. I see like one of my favourite YouTubers, which is the Happy Console Gamer. The first video of his I ever watched was on Guardian Heroes, because I think even like 10 years ago I was still looking for like Guardian Heroes content, and I just found his review. But yeah, let me know down below in the comments what you think of this game, if you've played it, if you remember it, if you have absolutely no idea what this game is. Absolutely fine, let me know. But thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.